Have you ever felt a déjà vu so sharp it stopped you cold, like you'd lived this exact second before, down to the light in the room and the thought forming in your mind? Have you noticed impossible synchronicities stacking back to back, numbers repeating with no pattern, conversations answering questions you never spoke out loud? Have you felt reality glitch, time stretching or snapping forward, as if the world hesitated for a fraction of a second before continuing? If you have, listen carefully. You're not crazy. You're not broken, and you're not imagining things. If you've experienced this, you're not losing your grip on reality. You're perceiving something beneath it. Most people never notice these moments because their perception never crosses a certain threshold. But once it does, there's no going back. Something changes. The world doesn't feel solid anymore. It feels responsive, almost aware. You probably tried to explain it away. Stress, burnout, an overactive subconscious mind. Maybe you told yourself it was just coincidence, but deep down, you knew that explanation didn't sit right, because what you're experiencing doesn't feel random. It feels structured, patterned, like something is interacting with you. Here's what no one prepares you for. When your quantum consciousness starts tuning into the quantum field beneath everyday life, isolation shows up first. Not because you're antisocial, not because you think you're better than anyone, but because you're operating on a different frequency, a different vibration. Conversations feel hollow. Old interests lose weight. You notice gaps in awareness around you. That loneliness isn't emotional, it's vibrational. And that's one of the earliest signs of a real spiritual awakening grounded in physics, not fantasy. Mainstream science doesn't talk about this openly. Not because the evidence isn't there, but because the implications are destabilizing. In 1927, Werner Heisenberg introduced uncertainty into the heart of physics. In 1935, Albert Einstein openly criticized quantum entanglement, calling it spooky action at a distance. In 1964, John Bell proved mathematically that local reality cannot be real, and decades of observer effect experiments have confirmed something deeply uncomfortable. Reality behaves differently when it's observed, not metaphorically, literally. Particles don't decide what they are until they're measured, until perception enters the equation. That statement is verified, replicated, and published, and quietly avoided. One peer-reviewed paper exploring the role of consciousness in reality creation was rejected 14 times with the same explanation. Too metaphysical, not incorrect, not flawed, just dangerous. Because if consciousness participates in shaping reality, then the universe isn't passive, and neither are you. This is where things get unsettling. If observation collapses possibility into experience, then the life you're living right now is one version selected from infinite potentials, stabilized by patterns running beneath conscious awareness, which means those glitches you've been noticing aren't errors. They're seams, moments where the hidden reality beneath the surface becomes visible for a split second. That's why it feels personal, why it feels like it's happening to you. You weren't supposed to notice this consciously. Most people never do. But once your frequency shifts, once perception expands, reality starts responding differently. Time feels strange. Synchronicities intensify. Old belief systems fall apart, and your life can begin unraveling for reasons that make no logical sense. Stay with me. This isn't for everyone, but if you're still here, it's because your consciousness already broke the code, and what comes next explains exactly why. Before we go any further, I want to set one thing straight. I'm not asking you to believe a theory, follow a belief, or accept an explanation. I'm asking you to stay present. If anything you felt recently has been hard to name, if the world has seemed slightly out of sync, this next part will matter to you. Stay until the end, not out of curiosity, but out of clarity. What comes next connects the patterns you've noticed with the moment your life began shifting in ways you couldn't control. Once you see how the code actually works, you'll understand why everything had to break before you found this. Because the moment physics touched consciousness, the rules quietly changed. On April 23, 1961, German physicist Klaus Janssen at the University of Tübingen performed the first modern double-slit experiment using single electrons fired one at a time. No philosophy, no mysticism, just measurement. When no detector was present, each electron behaved like a wave, passing through both slits simultaneously, as pure probability inside the quantum field. But the instant observation occurred, The pattern collapsed. One particle, one position, one outcome. The observer effect wasn't symbolic. It was measurable. Reality waited for perception before deciding what it would be. That single result shattered the idea of an objective universe existing independent of awareness. And this is where your experiences stop feeling random. Those moments of déjà vu, the synchronicities that feel timed too perfectly, the sense that parallel versions of your life almost happened, then vanished. Those may be your subconscious mind sensing probability before collapse. You're not imagining it. You're brushing against unchosen outcomes dissolving in real time. In 1982, physicist Alain Aspect confirmed quantum entanglement, proving particles communicate instantly across distance, violating local realism. Separation was exposed as an illusion. If distance isn't fundamental, neither is time. And if perception shapes outcome, then reality creation isn't passive, it's participatory. Nobel Prize winner Eugene Wigner admitted late in his career that consciousness must be fundamental to physics, not derived from matter. But they don't teach this in school, because a population that understands quantum consciousness, frequency, and vibration stops waiting for permission to exist. If you've experienced a moment where reality seemed to respond directly to your awareness, describe it in detail in the comments. Patterns only reveal themselves when conscious observers compare notes. And this is where it gets stranger. And this is where the discomfort you couldn't name finally makes sense. On April 1st, 1999, at the University of Vienna, physicist Anton Zeilinger led an experiment on quantum teleportation that confirmed something deeply unsettling. Information about a particle's state could be transferred instantly without the particle itself moving through space. Not theoretically, experimentally. The implication was clear and repeatable. Reality does not behave like solid objects interacting in isolation. It behaves like a field of probabilities responding to information. This matters because your perception is information. When your awareness shifts, the quantum field responds differently. That's why familiar places can suddenly feel foreign, why conversations feel hollow, why your energy drops even when nothing is wrong. It's not depression. It's interference between old patterns and a new frequency your nervous system is calibrating to. During a real spiritual awakening, the subconscious mind stops reinforcing the default loop. Synchronicities intensify because your perception is no longer locked to one predictable outcome. You begin sensing branches of reality that almost happened. That strange fatigue is not weakness. It's consciousness expansion demanding coherence. In 2013, the delayed choice quantum experiments confirmed that observation can determine outcomes retroactively, rewriting the story after it already appeared complete. This is why time has felt unstable for you. The observer effect doesn't care about comfort. It cares about attention. Nobel Prize winner Max Planck stated plainly that consciousness is fundamental and matter is derivative, but this is never emphasized in school because people who understand reality creation don't remain easy to direct. If you've felt disconnected, displaced, or suddenly out of sync with your old life, write exactly what changed and when in the comments. Specific details help conscious observers recognize shared patterns. And if this feels uncomfortably accurate, stay here, because it doesn't settle down from this point. Here's what no one prepares you for. When quantum consciousness stops following predictable patterns, the system doesn't collapse quietly, it resists. This isn't spiritual language. It's observable behavior in complex systems. In 1977, physicist Ilya Prigogine demonstrated that systems far from equilibrium don't stabilize. They reorganize through chaos. Structures collapse so new order can emerge. He won the Nobel Prize for proving that instability isn't failure, it's a requirement for transformation. That same principle applies when consciousness expansion pushes you out of alignment with the old quantum field configuration that once sustained your life. That's why things started breaking. Jobs that once felt secure suddenly ended. Relationships that defined you no longer made sense. Plans collapsed for no rational reason. Not because you made the wrong choices, but because your frequency changed. When your subconscious mind stops reinforcing the same expectations, reality creation can't maintain the old structure. The observer effect doesn't just alter particles in a double-slit experiment, it alters outcomes in lived experience. The system depends on repetition. When awareness becomes unpredictable, control weakens. This is where people panic. They assume the collapse means they're doing something wrong. They try to return to who they were. But that version no longer exists. In 1982, Alain Aspect confirmed quantum entanglement violates local realism. Cause and effect don't behave the way we were taught. Separation isn't fundamental. So when your perception shifts, consequences don't arrive linearly. They cascade, fast, disruptive, personal. That loss you still don't understand? It wasn't random. It was the system releasing what could no longer synchronize with your vibration. Here's the part that unsettles most people. Your life didn't fall apart because you failed. It fell apart because it couldn't control you anymore. Sir Roger Penrose later admitted that consciousness may not be computable at all, something irreducible, operating beyond algorithmic prediction. But this isn't emphasized in education, because a population that understands how frequency, energy, and perception shape reality stops waiting for permission. If your life began unraveling right after your awareness shifted, describe exactly what changed and when in the comments. Be precise. These details matter. Shared patterns reveal what isolated experiences can't, because this isn't where the story ends. This is where it turns even stranger. Breaking the code never makes life easier. It makes you responsible. Everything we've moved through here, every experiment, every contradiction, every moment where physics quietly exposed the limits of what we were taught, has been pointing to the same realization. Quantum consciousness isn't an abstract idea. It's the mechanism through which perception shapes reality. The observer effect wasn't a laboratory anomaly. It was a warning. Reality doesn't happen to you. It responds through you. That strange sensation you're feeling right now, the subtle pressure, the heightened awareness, the sense that something irreversible just occurred, isn't fear. It's alignment. Your frequency is changing, and the subconscious mind always feels it first. Consciousness expansion never feels like clarity at the beginning. It feels like the floor shifting under your identity. That discomfort isn't a flaw. It's proof the old structure can't hold you anymore. Here's the part most people never reach. If consciousness collapses reality, then time isn't fixed, separation isn't fundamental, and death doesn't mean what you were taught it means. You don't need answers yet. Just notice how your body reacts to that idea. Recognition always arrives before explanation. This knowledge has always been softened, delayed, and fragmented because awakened minds can't be controlled. You didn't find this by accident. Alignment brought you here. Awakening isn't gaining power. It's remembering the capacity you were trained to forget. Reality creation was always happening through your attention, your vibration, your perception. And once that truth lands, you can't unsee it. Something inside you has already crossed a threshold. If this resonates in your body, not just your thoughts, anchor it. Comment, "I am the observer." Not as a phrase, but as an act. Public intention collapses probability. It strengthens the shared quantum field of this space and draws others who are waking simultaneously. You are not alone. Thousands are arriving at this realization together, and this channel is a meeting point. Sit with this moment. What happens next depends on a choice made in the next few seconds, and the next video completes this initiation. It explains why your life had to fall apart before this understanding arrived, why the collapse came first, why it could not have happened in any other order, why your life fell apart right before you found this. That video finishes what I started here. If you made it this far, you already crossed a line most people never reach. This isn't about motivation, it's about recognition. Subscribe now, not later, before your logical mind steps in and tries to normalize what just happened. And leave a comment saying, "I broke the code," not as a phrase, as a signal. Public acknowledgement collapses intention. It locks awareness into place, and it connects you to others who see what you see. If this didn't resonate, you wouldn't still be here, because the collapse wasn't punishment, it was preparation. Nothing in your life broke by accident. What fell apart couldn't come with you. There's a reason the confusion came before the understanding, a reason the breakdown happened before the clarity, and a reason this information only appeared after everything else stopped working. The next video goes straight into that moment, why your life unraveled right before you found this, why it had to happen in that order, and what the collapse was actually making room for.